Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh, and this is your Thursday, June 11th stimulus check update for the first stimulus check. And this video is for those on different Social Security benefits such as SSI and SSDI, as well as an update for railroad retirees and veterans. Now, before I get into this video for today, per usual, if you wouldn't mind just real quickly hitting that like button below, giving me a big thumbs up. Again, it really just helps with the YouTube algorithm because when you like the video, it pushes it out to more people, and hopefully in that way it can help other people on SSI, SSDI, and other Social Security benefits, as well as veterans and railroad retirees, as they can see this information and hopefully it can answer some of the questions that they may have. Now, in addition to that, just real quickly, if you don't mind, leave a comment in the comment section below letting me know whether or not you received your first stimulus payment yet or not. It just kind of gives me and others a good idea of how many people are receiving their stimulus payments and still how many people have not yet received their stimulus payment. And I know there's still millions of people who haven't yet received their first stimulus payment. So if you're still waiting for yours, you're not alone and they haven't forgotten about you. They're still processing these payments every single week, so they definitely will get to you as long as you're eligible for the stimulus payment. Now, for the most part, what I'm seeing for people who are not eligible, it's going to be one of two things. Now, the first thing that I'm seeing that it's most common is people who are being claimed as dependents. And yes, even if you're an adult, even if you're over the age of 17, 18, if you're a college student, if you're a full-grown adult in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, you can be claimed as a dependent by someone. So, for example, I've actually seen some people claim their parents as dependents on their tax returns, and since they're doing that, it's actually causing their parents to be ineligible for their stimulus payment. Now, another one of the common reasons I'm seeing people disqualified from stimulus payments that think they should be qualified for stimulus payments is that they have past due child support. And unfortunately, if you do have past due child support, then your stimulus payment could be offset by that. Now, in this video, per usual, I'm going to answer some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. And if you happen to have any comments or questions for me, please feel free to leave it in the comment section below and I will try to get to it. I do try to answer as many comments and questions as I possibly can in each video, and those comments and questions that I'm not able to get to in that video, I do try to answer some of the better ones and some of the ones I think can be most helpful in the next video in video form. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of the questions that I received in my previous video. And the first question I'm going to answer today is from Melissa. And Melissa asked, do you know of any new dates? So Melissa in this question is asking me if there is any new trendy dates, a date in which people are receiving a payment date through the payment portal. And as of right now, I haven't seen a lot of people report one specific date. I have seen a few different people report a date of May 12th. So some people may be receiving a payment date of May 12th. That is a little bit odd because I've been noticing that a lot of these payments are actually going out on Wednesdays and the 12th is a Friday. So with all that said, I would expect more people to begin receiving payment dates for next Wednesday. All right, so the next question of today's video is from Susan. Susan says, hi Josh, nothing yet, no date. Get My Payment has said no payment status available since I updated my info on non-filers on April 15th. I appreciate your response yesterday. Trying hard to think positive, especially since I still see others getting their payments. All right, Susan, thank you so much for that question, and I'm so glad that you're staying positive in this time. I know it's really hard to remain patient because you've been waiting several weeks for your stimulus payment, and it's ridiculous and it's incredibly stressful, so nobody could blame you for just pulling your hair out at this point in time. But hang in there, you're definitely going to receive your stimulus payment. Now, you did mention that you're receiving the payment status not available page, and all that means is that the IRS has not yet scheduled a delivery date for you. Now, one recommendation that I could have for you if you haven't tried this already is to try typing your physical street address in all capital letters. Sometimes that can help fix the issue where at that point you'll then receive a payment date. And another trick you could try if that doesn't work is to try to abbreviate your street address. So if you live on a drive, instead of physically typing out DRIVE, type in DR, abbreviating drive, or you can abbreviate lane for LN, etc., and so on and so forth. So if abbreviating your address doesn't work, and if by capitalizing your address, if that doesn't work and you're still getting payment status not available, then at that point there's really nothing else you can do. You've done everything you can possibly do. The IRS just has not scheduled a delivery date for you. So if you're not being claimed as a dependent, if you don't have past due child support, then you're definitely going to receive the stimulus payment. So just hang in there, try not to drive yourself too crazy, and you definitely will eventually receive a date. All right, so the next question today is from Sarah. Sarah says, when will I get my second stimulus check? I'm on Social Security. All right, Sarah, thank you so much for that question. And unfortunately, at this point in time, there is no second stimulus check. I know you've probably seen various videos on YouTube and the media mentioning about a second stimulus payment, and there's lots of hype behind it. And yes, there is something called the HEROES Act where it will be another round of $1,200 stimulus payments. And you did see recently that it was passed by the House of Representatives. So now the Senate will have to vote on it. And if the Senate says yes, then it just gets passed on to the president, and the president just has to vote yes on it. And there'll be another round. However, unfortunately, it's not that easy because there's a lot more in this bill than just the $1,200 stimulus payment. So a lot of it in the bill, the Senate is opposed to. So the Senate is most likely going to reject it as it is. So the Democrats and the Republicans are going to have to work together to kind of revise this bill, and hopefully they can figure out something what's best for the American people. And I really wish, and I think it would be so much easier if they just made a bill specifically for the American people where they would be giving $1,200 checks to the American people. But no, in these bills, they want to cram as many things on their wish list as possible. So yeah, they'll have the $1,200 checks going to the American people, but then they'll have some money going to small business, and then they'll have other things on their wish list that they wanted to pass, at least on their political agenda in the bill, and they'll want to cram all these things in here. And obviously, Democrats and Republicans, they have different ideals, but I think what they can both perhaps maybe agree on and what would be best for the American people is passing another stimulus check. So I think instead of trying to cram more political agendas into a bill, maybe they should just have one bill for one specific item. So if they were just to add another stimulus check in there, it would be a lot less costly. But unfortunately, it's a much more difficult process, and the Republicans and the Democrats are really going to have to work together. And in the end, we'll see if there's a second stimulus check passed. There is no guarantees, but we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, so the next question today is from Teresa. Teresa says, "Hey Josh, my daughter is 17 years old and on SSI. She is not claimed as a dependent, and I'm her payee. No money on the Direct Express card. Is she eligible? Please let me know." All right, thank you for that question, Teresa. And as long as your daughter wasn't claimed as a dependent on someone else's most recent tax return, then she would be eligible for a stimulus payment. So in the meantime, I would just recommend her to continue checking the payment portal, and at some point she should eventually receive a date. Now, as far as representative payees go, the stimulus payments began getting sent out on May 28th via direct deposit, and paper checks were sent out on May 27th. Now, you did mention that you usually receive the benefits via Direct Express card, and these stimulus payments will be sent in that same form. So I would expect the stimulus payment to go on the Direct Express card. Now, for those people who have Direct Express cards, I've noticed a trend where you actually see a pending deposit around 4 to 5 days before it actually lands and before it actually goes from pending to actually posted. So I would expect to see that payment show up relatively soon. In the meantime, like I mentioned, I would just continue checking the Get My Payment portal on a daily basis. All right, so the next question is from Fawaz. Fawaz says, "Hi Josh, I am a SSI recipient living in Jordan. When will I receive my stimulus check?" All right, thank you so much for that question. And as far as the timing goes for your stimulus payment, even though you live abroad, you would be on the same timeline as anyone else on SSI benefits living within the United States. Now, the only thing that could potentially delay your stimulus payment is if you do not have a bank that's based within the United States. So if you have a non-US based bank, unfortunately the IRS will not be able to directly deposit the stimulus payment into a non-US based bank. Don't ask me why. For whatever reason, they have troubles doing that. So instead of directly depositing your stimulus payment into your bank, they'll have to physically deliver your check via mail, which could slow down the process quite a bit depending on how mail service is in Jordan. So yes, you still definitely will receive a stimulus payment as long as you're not being claimed as a dependent, as long as you don't have past due child support, but you may see a little bit of a delay as it will be mailed instead of directly deposited if you do not have a bank that's based within the United States. All right, so the last question of today's video is from Mike. Mike says, "Mine has said it's been in some account I don't know of since the 13th and have no way of tracking it. What do I do?" All right, Mike, thank you so much for that question. So if you check the payment portal and you see that your stimulus payment has been directly deposited into a checking account that you do not own and you do not recognize, then no worries. What the bank is going to do is they're going to reject the payment because the account number is either not going to exist, or if someone even has that account number, it's not going to have your name on it. So either way, the bank is going to reject the payment and they're going to send it back to the IRS. So then at that point in time, the IRS is going to have to reprocess your stimulus payment. And instead of trying to directly deposit your stimulus payment again into another bank, they're going to instead send you a check in the mail. So in the meantime, I would just be checking your mailbox, and also the Get My Payment portal should update once again from where it's saying that they're directly depositing your stimulus payment to where they're actually going to be physically mailing you a check. So you can begin checking the payment portal. That should update. But in the meantime, I would also be checking your mailbox, and your stimulus payment should arrive that way soon. So that's all the comments and questions that I'm going to go over in today's video. Like I mentioned before, if you do have any other comments or questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I will try to answer as many of the comments and questions that I receive as I possibly can. And those comments and questions that I'm not able to answer to, I will try to pick some of the best ones to answer in the next video, and hopefully in that way I can help as many people as I possibly can. Now, as far as upcoming payment dates, I did mention in the first answer that there was a few people that mentioned they're going to be receiving payouts on Friday, May 12th, which I mentioned was a little bit unusual just because I see most of these stimulus payments going out on Wednesdays. So I would expect another batch to go out next Wednesday. So I would just continue checking the payment portal. That is your #1 resource. Another resource you could try is the IRS website. There's a good Q&A on there, which answers a lot of the more common questions that I see asked in my comment section. And finally, you could also call the IRS. Their EIP hotline is 1-800-919-9835. There is a pretty long hold time though, and I would recommend calling earlier in the morning, just because if you call afternoon, there's going to be a pretty long hold time and you may never even get through to an agent. So with all that said, I am gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. Once again, if you have not yet received your first stimulus payment, hang in there. It's definitely coming soon. I know it's driving you crazy. The IRS is just incredibly slow. I wish there was something I could do on my end to speed these stimulus payments out. If I was ahead of the IRS, I would have had these payments out the very first day I had access to the funds. But unfortunately, the IRS is slow. And in the meantime, there's really nothing that we can do but try to be as patient as we possibly can. So with that said, guys, if you did enjoy the content in this one and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is completely free and a great way to help me out, and I would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, I'll see you guys, and I hope you have a great day today.